Welcome to Corvette Today, the show that talks about everything Corvette, with your host, Steve Garrett, lifetime member of the National Corvette Museum, president of the Corvette Club of Kansas City, Missouri, and radio disc jockey at the #1 radio station in Kansas City for over 45 years. Here's Steve Garrett.
Thanks for listening and watching Corvette Today, the show that talks about everything Corvette, and the only current podcast dedicated to Corvette. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. I appreciate you tuning in. Corvette Today is brought to you by Wheelcraft. Want to dress up your Corvette with bright chrome or black chrome wheels? Visit wheelcraft.com and learn about their advanced PVD chrome finishing. They can refinish your wheels or offer a wheel exchange for most models, and it comes with a 5-year warranty. Visit wheelcraft.com today or call them at 833-840-5334. You can listen to Corvette Today on all podcast platforms. You can also listen on your smart device. Just say, "Hey Google," or "Alexa, play the podcast called Corvette Today," and you're connected. And be sure to visit the Corvette Today website. It's CorvetteToday.com. You can access everything there, including the Corvette Today merchandise store. You can also join our Corvette Today Facebook group there as well. Also, make sure you sign up for the Corvette Today emails, notifications, and updates at CorvetteToday.ck.page. And be sure to subscribe to our Corvette Today YouTube channel. See all Corvette Today episodes on YouTube as well. And be sure to patronize our flagship sponsors of Corvette Today, MidEngineCorvetteForum.com, the forum that focuses on the new mid-engine C8 Corvette. Meet a lot of fellow Corvette enthusiasts like yourself at MidEngineCorvetteForum.com. Soul Performance Products, developed and manufactured in the United States, the Soul Performance Products exhaust portfolio has been tailored to elevate the experience of the world's most exciting sports cars, including the latest generation of the Corvette. Soul Performance Products at SOULPP.com, the official performance exhaust of Corvette Today. Aerolarri Wheels, a true forged wheel with over 20 unique styles to choose from for your C8 and wide-body versions of the C7, C6, and C5 Corvette. It's an amazing value, starting at only $23.88 for a set of 4 fully forged wheels. And use the promo code CT111 and get $100 off your purchase. Visit Aerolarri.com. C8 Corvettes. If you're a Corvette enthusiast, and I know you are since you're listening and watching Corvette Today, then you need to know about C8 Corvette. They're based in Atlantic City, where you can find over 100 new and pre-owned vets on the lot and inbound. C8 also ships Corvettes all over the country, custom ordered to your specifications. They're staffed with experienced pros who can answer all your questions. So don't compromise. Visit CiocaCorvette.com. That's CIOCCA Corvette.com and find out more. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. E5 Wheels. E5 Wheels is a passionate and dedicated wheel company that serves only Corvette. They make spun-forged wheels for your C8, C7, and C6 Corvette. With the best fitment in the industry, E5 Wheels ensures your wheels complement the aesthetics and functionality while optimizing the performance of your Corvette. Visit e5wheels.com or call them at 305-964-7429. If you're ready to finance your next Corvette, Woodside Credit is the go-to place for enthusiasts. With the lowest monthly payments in America and a process designed to make getting behind the wheel quick and easy, it's no surprise Corvettes are one of the most popular vehicles to finance. Visit woodsidecredit.com to estimate your low monthly payment with a quick quote. And be sure to mention Corvette Today as your referral for a special gift when your loan is funded. And a shout out to Canadian Corvette Forum and Corvette Forum, welcoming Corvette enthusiasts from around the world. On this episode of Corvette Today, we celebrate the career of the man who designed what your Corvette looks like today. Kirk Bennion has worked at GM for over 4 decades, 3+ of those on Corvette. He was on Corvette Today number 34 way back in December of 2020. Today, we look back at his illustrious career. Kirk, welcome back to Corvette Today, buddy.
Steve, so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You bet. It's always good to have you on the show. Kirk, before we celebrate your career, let's talk about your education career. Where'd you go to school? What was your degree in?
I went to the Cleveland Institute of Art. That's a 5-year private art college, very high end, much like CCS, Art Center. Those are all great schools for young designers. So my major was industrial design. I have a minor in graphic design. I also have a minor in figure painting, which you might think is kind of strange, but I had a really good art teacher when I was in high school. And the thing that she would push is building your creativity was part of it, but also developing a keen eye. And if you want to have a keen eye, obviously drawing or painting the human figure, that was part of that equation. At Cleveland, I would go in, I would paint a portrait every 2 weeks. I could pretty much knock them out in 6 hours.
Wow. That's pretty amazing, buddy. I've learned something new about you today.
Yes, yeah.
That's really cool. All right, so after you graduated school, what was your first job?
So my first job was being hired in at GM.
Oh, okay.
I was still at Cleveland Institute of Art. So we had Chuck Jordan, the Chuck Jordan,
Wow.
come down to our school to interview myself and my other, it was about 20 of us. And actually, Chuck was the main guy who hired all the creative designers, back into the 60s and the 50s and that. He knew what he wanted in a designer. He wanted passion, he wanted conviction, he wanted designers that were going to work hard for him. He really set the bar.
That's really cool. I love these backstories about your conversations in your interview with GM. Tell me more about when you and Chuck got together and how you got hired.
So for me, we had Chuck come down, and Chuck drove one of his Ferraris down.
Wow.
He's a very passionate car person in that, and obviously doesn't have anything against Ferrari in that, but that was just part of his passion. As you can appreciate, being at a 5-year school and everything like that, I did not want to leave anything up for question. So I was working very hard on a portfolio, getting ready for Chuck's interview. What I ended up doing was securing the art gallery for myself and my friends so we could put our artwork up in this really beautiful scenario in that. So he's looking at everything because he's a vice president, so we wanted everything to be high in quality in that. Chuck comes up to me and he looks at everything I have. I had 350 sketches on the wall. I had 4 portfolios, and I had 2 mid-engine hard models. And I'm going to tell you, one was a typical side-by-side mid-engine, but the other one was a 4.5 mid-engine. So it was kind of more missile-shaped. We wanted him to see stuff that he'd never seen before. Chuck stood there, and he looked up and across. He waited about 5 seconds, and he says, "You're hired."
Wow.
I think it was probably the fastest interview you could have at General Motors at the time.
That's amazing. What a story, Kirk.
Yes.
That's incredible. Now, you spent 41 years with General Motors. What was your first job when you got into GM? Obviously, I don't think you started with Corvette, but what was your first job once you got into General Motors?
So once I got hired in those days, we had 5 advanced studios. I was being placed in Advanced 3. Now, lo and behold, when I walked into Advanced 3, there's Tom Peters there.
Wow.
Tom had been hired in for about 1.5 years, closer to 2. Mm-hmm. And Jim Beek was our design manager. That's where my career started with Tom Peters. Tom and I would exchange different spots depending on what we were doing. There was a time where I was in Pontiac, so then he went to Pontiac, and then I went to Chevy 3. So we swapped back and forth. After that, like 1999, I would be by Tom Peters' side for the rest of my career.
That's really cool. Now, you did a lot of exterior design for more than just Corvette. Talk about some of the other GM vehicles that you did design for.
Okay, so when I was in Chevy 3, and like I said, we were actually sketching C5s and we were doing C5 scale models. The C5 was getting its architecture and its business case restructured, things like that. So we kind of put that on hold for a little bit. So I transitioned to Bill Davis. Bill Davis was our chief designer. He had basically everything that wasn't already big trucks. So we ended up working the next 9 years on S trucks, on the full-size van, the Suburban, the Tahoe. There's a little S truck in there that had the sports side. Those were real popular at the time, was working on those with John Moss. Within your portfolio at GM, they always like you to have truck experience. And like I said, having that experience for 9 years was pretty eventful. It also led to some of our crossover vehicles like the Traverse, that was huge.
Right.
The Outlook, the Acadia. And I was happy to say that at that time, we were actually ahead of the curve with our crossovers.
That's really cool. Now, you also worked on Camaro, didn't you, Kirk?
Yes. And actually, when I was in Chevy 3, and here again, we were under Lloyd Royce in those days. And, Lloyd was really great. He'd come in and he loved seeing the new guys in the studio. He's very passionate, but he knew that we were going to bring in new energy and new ideas, and he just loved to see that collaboration.
That's really nice. And especially a guy like Lloyd, coming from him, that's really cool.
Yeah, so while in that studio, we were sketching on, like I said, C5, but we were also working on what as the 91 Camaro. And then the 93 Camaro, that was a big deal for me. I was a lead designer on that, did all the aero work, under Randy Wateen. Guys I was working with in the studio, All those guys would eventually be Hall of Famers. But yeah, I still have one of those 93 Camaros today. It's heartfelt. It was neat to be a part of that. And the car's still relatively modern with its rear hatch, things like that. I call it my Home Depot car. I can go to Home Depot and just put anything I want in the back.
Yeah, that's true. That's really true. That's a great car. That is for sure. Oh, buddy, let's take our first break. When we come back, we're going to dig more into your career with Corvette. That's coming up next here on Corvette Today.
We all know that wheels make the car. Wheelcraft's PVD chrome finish in bright chrome or black chrome will take your Corvette to new levels. And it comes with a 5-year warranty. Durability is a defining feature of the Wheelcraft finish. Their PVD chrome is superior to traditional chrome, with a finish that is brake dust resistant and cleans effortlessly with soap and water. Wheelcraft offers factory wheel exchange for select C4 through C8 models, or they can apply the PVD finish to your current wheels. No matter what generation you own, Wheelcraft will transform the look of your Corvette. With every Corvette comes a unique story, and Wheelcraft has embraced this idea. When you purchase your new set of wheels, you receive a lifetime membership to the Wheelcraft Pit Crew, granting you access to your own page on Wheelcraft's website, where you can post pictures and tell your Corvette story. Visit our website at wheelcraft.com or call 833-639-4231. Arrive in style with Wheelcraft.
The National Corvette Restored Society is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. 50 years of affirming and promoting the preservation and restoration of the Corvette. 50 years as the foremost Corvette collector car organization for building value with its prestigious awards. Have you ever considered joining NCRS? Over 70,000 people have. We're so much more than just the nuts and bolts. The NCRS flight judging program can and often does increase the value of America's sports car by researching and publishing the leading tech manuals and judging guides for the 1953 through 2007 Corvettes, by training the best judges and by hosting local, regional, and national judging events. And when you join, you'll get award-winning magazines like Corvette Restore and Driveline all throughout the year. Joining is simple and easy. Just go to ncrs.org and sign up. There are NCRS chapters all throughout the U.S. and all around the world. Chances are there's a local chapter near you. So join NCRS today at ncrs.org. We come for the Corvettes. We stay for the friendships made along the way.
Hi, I'm Mark Falter, host of the Retirement Income Hour podcast and Corvette enthusiast. I know when I bought my Z06, I was thinking two things. One, these cars are incredible. And two, man, are they expensive. Owning a Corvette isn't just about driving fast. It's about living life in the fast lane. But are your finances keeping up? On my podcast, I make wealth management as smooth as your car on the open road. Whether it's planning your retirement, building your investments, or how to get this retirement account to pay for your Corvette vision, I got you covered. Search for the Retirement Income Hour podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and let's shift your finances into overdrive. I'll see you on the open road, financially and literally.
Investment advisory services offered through Mid-American Wealth Advisory Group, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm.
And now, back to Corvette Today with your host and my husband, Steve Garrett.
Thanks for listening and watching Corvette Today, the show that talks about everything Corvette. Corvette Today is brought to you by Wheelcraft. Hey, I know you want your Corvette looking its best, so dress it up with bright chrome or black chrome wheels. Visit wheelcraft.com and learn about their advanced PVD chrome finishing. They can refinish your wheels or do a wheel exchange, and you also get a 5-year warranty. So visit wheelcraft.com today or just give them a call, 833-639-4231. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. With me is Kirk Bennion, the former exterior design manager for Corvette. We are celebrating his career with General Motors and Corvette. In this segment, we're going to talk a little bit more about his time with Corvette. Kirk, you really started with the C5. When you came in, C4 was already done. Talk about some of the highlights of the C5 generation.
C5, there were some challenges that we had with the business case, the package. Aero was a big part of C5 under Dave Hill. And there was also some good positives with C5. We got the bigger wheels, 18s and 19s. You got the wider track. We also had the hardtop in the convertible. So it was a very compelling car. We just needed time to work through some of those issues. Will Cooksey was part of that. He came to the charge, and he was part of that car being real as well. Dave was a big part, obviously, of that car. He was part of every piece that was being developed for that, was pretty much under Dave Hill. And then Tats Jechter at the time.
Yeah.
We would later do the 2004 C5 as a collector car. That was the first car to get an all carbon fiber hood. It was painted carbon fiber, but that was still us stepping into the carbon fiber pond. That was really good for us at that time.
Yeah, that was a significant thing too. Let's talk about C6 real quick. Basically, same question. Talk about some of the highlights of the C6 generation for me.
Well, the C6, obviously there was some learnings there. The biggest thing I could tell you that happened on C6 was we started collaborating with Doug Feehan and the Pratt Miller race team right from the very beginning. There were some things on the C5, like the center plate didn't translate as well for racing. We started off with Doug and his team on the racing effort, and that meant getting a front end that was more efficient for taking in airflow, brake cooling, things like that. And of course, Dave Hill is a big supporter of that as well, because his motto was always bring racing to work day. The C6, we did the initial car, which was really good for low drag, things like that. Spaciousness in the inside was huge. We were still in our interior development with that car and doing what we would nickname as the wide body cars, doing the high performance cars.
Yeah.
That was huge for C6. And I would tell you, those early wide body cars are still coveted.
Oh, yeah, absolutely right.
The one that I worked on the most was the 2009 ZR1. Here again, we're going through business challenges. We're still working on bigger wheel sizes, things like that. The thing that we ended up having to do, the business case wasn't lined up yet. So I would work on that car underground. I worked on it underground for 4.5 years.
Wow.
We always felt that would be an epic car. It was supercharged. It had the aero package. It had magnetic ride. It had all these customer features. And then we did finally come out with it. And then we were at the Auto Week car show downtown in Detroit. We took first overall with that car.
That's incredible.
I think we surprised a lot of people with what we were able to get. The carbon ceramic brakes, that was a big win for us at the time.
Yep.
That turned out to be a big surprise. And then we would follow up with what was the 2011 Z06 Carbon, where we kept the drivetrain and everything like that. We had a normally aspirated engine. We weren't worried about it being supercharged back then. And of course, that car, it was always about being lightweight and having those magnetic ride features.
Yeah. Now, I know the C7 was supposed to be the mid-engine car, but that got pushed back. Talk to me about how that affected you and your team with the development of the C7.
Yes, C7 was a good car for us. We were able to make it different enough. Early on in the development of that car, we would refer to it as maybe C6M. I would tell you, I put together a grocery list of what I felt needed to be on the car for us to consider it to be a C7. So I had 12 items on there. Basically, Tadge Jector gave me all 12 of those items.
Wow.
Unique rear hatch, wheel sizes, aero parts, all that was supported by Tadge. The C7s are still very popular today. When I attend some of the shows like Watkins Glen, things like that, I still see what I call the wide body C7s. I still see those as being very popular cars.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful proportion. You get newer tech, you get the high-end interior. And then we were doing special editions of those cars too. That was always, for Harlan and I, part of our recipe. It was to give the customer personal features that they could tag and apply to their car and put it in a personal venue that was just for them.
Yep. I love those special editions, the collector edition with the blue. That was awesome.
Yeah, the red, white, and blue cars were pretty popular.
That was true. Buddy, tell me something. When did you really start in earnest working on a mid-engine Corvette?
Good question. I'm going to surprise you here because we started on that. That was probably 2004. We were in LA. We were conducting a clinic. We brought in a 275 Ferrari and a Stradale, mid-engine Stradale car. We made this look like this was a Ferrari clinic.
Yeah.
Is what most people felt they were walking into. What we were trying to find out was, what did our customers think of a mid-engine car versus a front-engine car? Going through that clinic, it was neat because we would space out some of the groups. We'd have like a European group. We did an all Corvette group.
Oh.
And we asked them, of these two cars, the Stradale has better 0 to 60 than the 275. 12 for 12 Corvette people in this clinic, all 12 raised their hand and said, I want the mid-engine. They wanted the 0 to 60 times. And also they could see that proportion, that architectural change looked like a more exotic car. That was really huge for us. So we kind of took that learning. And I would tell you in 2007, we had a full-size Corvette. Now, in that '07 car, some of our challenges were transmission was bigger than it needed to be. We had interference issues with that in the muffler. We just weren't ready. It wasn't until, I had to tell you, we started working on our own transmission. That was a huge enabler for the mid-engine car.
Interesting. I tell you what, let's take our final break, Kirk. When we come back, we're going to talk more about your C8 design and the mid-engine car coming up next here on Corvette Today.
Are you ready for a better insurance policy without the Corvette tax? With agreed value protection, the value of your collector vehicle will never change. Plus, you'll save money. Get a quick quote at ncminsurance.com.
Hey, Corvette lovers, this is Brian Sarr from IntelliSense Family Office. You've formerly known us as True Wealth and Company. First off, a huge congratulations to Steve Garrett on celebrating 5 amazing years of Corvette Today. We've been proud sponsors every mile of the way. You know the thrill and drive and the pride of ownership, but here's the big question. Do you have the same confidence in managing your wealth? At IntelliSense Family Office, we specialize in helping high net worth individuals like you protect, grow, and enjoy their wealth. Whether you're a successful entrepreneur, a professional athlete, or someone who's worked hard to achieve your financial goals, we've got you covered with personalized expert advice. We understand the unique challenges you face and the dreams you have for the future. From advanced tax planning to succession planning, we provide comprehensive services tailored to your needs. Our goal? To give you peace of mind so you can focus on what you love. Ready to take your financial management to the next level? Visit IntelliSense.com or reach out to us today at 913-653-8783. Let's drive your financial success together. I'm Brian Sarf, and I look forward to helping you live the dream. Save the wave and see you on the road. Investment advisory services offered through IntelliSense Investment Solutions Incorporated, an SEC registered investment advisor.
When you want to buy a Corvette, or any Chevrolet for that matter, get yours from Hendrick Chevrolet Shawnee Mission, located in Kansas City. Hendrick Chevrolet is the largest Corvette dealership and showroom in the Midwest. With a knowledgeable sales staff and Corvette sales specialists on hand, they'll help you build the Corvette of your dreams, and they ship nationwide. With Corvette certified master mechanics on site and a huge parts department with over 24,000 parts and $2 million in inventory, Hendrick Chevrolet is well equipped to take care of your every need. From sales to service to collision repair, Hendrick Chevrolet has you covered. Visit ChevyUSA.com or call 913-384-1550.
Rev up your ride with the ultimate upgrade. The Radiator Grill Store is your go-to destination for top-notch C8 Corvette Stingray, Z06, and E-Ray accessories. Elevate your style with custom-painted engine bay covers, sleek front splitters, and side skirts that scream sophistication. Keep your C8 protected with premium Radiator Grill screens. Stand out from the crowd at car shows and beyond. Use code CT10 for an exclusive 10% discount off your total purchase at radiatorgrillstore.com. Don't miss out on turning heads. Upgrade your Corvette today.
You're listening and watching Corvette Today with Steve Garrett.
Thanks once again for checking out Corvette Today on podcast and YouTube. It's the only current podcast dedicated to Corvette. Corvette Today is brought to you by Wheelcraft. I know you want your Corvette looking its best. Well, dress it up with bright chrome or black chrome wheels. Visit wheelcraft.com and learn about their advanced PVD chrome finishing. They can refinish your wheels or do a wheel exchange, and you also get a 5-year warranty. So visit wheelcraft.com today or just give them a call. 833-639-4231. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. With me is Kirk Bennion, the former exterior design manager for Corvette. We're going to talk more about the C8 design. Kirk, let's talk about that C8 Corvette, because moving that engine in the back had to create some major obstacles when you guys were designing that car. Talk more about some of the logistics that you had to go through when moving that engine into the back.
You know, obviously that was a big deal. I would tell you, in those days, a gentleman by the name of Kim Lin and Ed Moss, those two guys were probably the most influential in making that happen. For design, we were all for it. Like I said, it was changing up the proportion. The other big news was we went to bigger wheels in the back, so we improved the stance of the vehicle. That was a win. But obviously, within this new architecture, cooling was a big metric. We've done a lot of cooling with C7, C6, of course, but this was a different animal. And getting air to the back of the car, getting it into the rear quarters. And you can see in our current ZR1 that we've modified and updated some of those airflow paths. That was huge to the car back then. And then part of that proportion was having the right spacing for the driver.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell you my good friend Ed Piatek was our template. It was our goal for him to be able to fit in the car and still wear a helmet. And that's why today you'll see some taller customers that are 6'4", depending on their torso proportion or whatever. We've been able to put larger customers in the car.
That's really important because I know that it gave you different weight balance. It moved the seating position 16.5 inches forward.
Yes.
Talk about some of those other design features that were highlighted for the C8 Corvette.
Well, I would tell you for the front end, here again, getting back to the cooling aspect, having those heat exchangers on the front corners, that was a big deal in getting to package those.
Mm-hmm.
And, when there was PEDPRO criteria that we had to do for export, obviously the pushes to still keep the car beautiful through the collaboration of the team. Obviously guys like Josh Holder, Tadge Jector were huge in helping us get some of the packaging. Chris Basillo, a friend of mine, was also key in getting radiators packaged to the front, and also having heat exchangers in the rear quarters. That was all a big deal. And then we had Pratt & Miller using their technology, and we were studying airflow paths and what was the most efficient way to get air to the rear of the car. It's a huge collaboration then, and especially when you're talking about cooling the car, because that's one of the things you just can't fall short on. Here again, with this architecture being brand new, we needed a robust cooling map for this car to make it on the road.
Yeah. Talk about the wind tunnel for me, Kirk, because I know you're big on working in the wind tunnel. Tell me about the wind tunnel with the C8 Corvette.
So let me back up a little bit on the wind tunnel, because when I was a young man and I was working in Chevy 3, and like I said, these were Lloyd Royce days, I would work with Randy Wateen in the wind tunnel. That was a big part of the collaboration. John Cafaro, his requirement for me as a young man back then was that I would learn to work the wind tunnel. I would also learn to drive cars on the track. The big thing was learning to work with engineers. When he did my cap review for those at the time, those were his three big things of me that he wanted me to be a part of. So that's how I always got involved with the aero. It started with really John Cafaro having the vision to say, hey, we need designers who can understand aerodynamics on Corvettes.
That's really cool. Now, when you think about the final design of the C8, talk more about the advantages that the C8 Corvette has over other mid-engine cars.
I would tell you the big advantage, the windshield placement. As you can appreciate in our world, we went back and forth and tried different positions in that, but getting that downward vision we felt was key. And then it was also very key to the design. You look at that windshield, it's very fast, it's got nice curvature. It's really a handsome part of the car.
Yeah, definitely. And it's got to make you proud seeing all the C8s on the streets and how popular they are, plus bringing a new and younger generation to the Corvette family, doesn't it?
Yes, and I would tell you, the Stingray really carries itself on the road. I've got a few of my neighbors that are usually driving around. You look at them and they got a huge smile on their face. It's like they're driving a Ferrari every day.
Yeah.
Because that mid-engine proportion just resonated on the Stingray. It turned Stingray into a huge hit for us.
Absolutely.
High volume-wise orders, things like that. Customers real happy with it. Now, the other thing that of the architecture that is key was not only did we have the heat exchangers up there, but we also had the frunk up there. So we were giving the customer front-end storage as well as the rear storage. Now, somebody will always tell you, well, we designed the back end for golf clubs. Well, we didn't. We designed it to fit 2 Delta bags. One of Tadge's wishes was he could go to the airport, leave his car there, and still be able to go back and forth with luggage in that. It just by coincidence that we're able to get golf clubs back there. And that's a huge win for me as a golfer, for our clientele as golfers.
Yeah, I remember when the C8 came out, everybody said, this is a great design, but can I get my golf clubs in the car? And you left room for not 1, but 2 bags in the back.
Yes. 2 small bags versus maybe, depending on what you're golfing, I have a regular size, but it still fits in there very well. And what's not to like that here again, you can go to your favorite golf course and drive your favorite car and pull out your best clubs. It's all a great experience.
Exactly right. Buddy, let's get some closing thoughts from you. First off, just know that the entire Corvette community loves you. They respect you. We thank you for everything that you've done for Corvette. Now you get to hang out with us at some of the upcoming events. You will sorely be missed. Give me some final thoughts about your career with General Motors and Corvette.
Well, I would tell you for my career at GM, I feel very fortunate. I was at the right place at the right time with people like Tom Peters and John Cafaro. I got to work on some very impactful programs. I think if you look at my talent card, I had 50 plus different programs that I worked on. I worked on crossovers with Jack Folden. Jack was a wonderful gentleman. As long as I kept his work going, he would let me work on the Corvette stuff underground. Didn't matter as long as everything was still getting done.
Wow.
That was a huge benefit. And I kind of done that through my career where I would bounce into different programs. They might have been crossovers, they might have been trucks, but I always had the support from my leaders. If Corvette needed anything, they'd look the other way, let me get something done here. So that was always a huge enabler. People like Ed Welburn, he was always key to having positive design work going on in the workplace. One of my favorite Ed Welburn stories was go back to C6 days. We had the Ron Fellows car that was at the Chicago Auto Show at the McCormick Center. It was our first special edition, special chrome wheels, special graphics, the red interior. We had that there, and lo and behold, we ended up taking first place at the Chicago Auto Show with the Ron Fellows car. Now, of course, Harlan and I are standing there. We get a visit from Bob Lutz and Tom Wallace. Tom Wallace is the VLE.
Yeah.
Where'd this car come from? Well, Harlan and I, we just kind of put this special edition together. Oddly enough, somehow the memo didn't get to those two guys that they knew we were doing that.
That's awesome.
So the next day, we have Ed Welburn in the studio in front of Harlan and myself. Ed is a real savvy guy in that he's just a wonderful gentleman to work for. So Ed comes to us and he goes, all right, that was nice. That car did really well. Thanks for doing that, guys. Maybe we could communicate a little bit better on the next one.
That's awesome.
Then he said, looked at Harlan and goes, I want a special edition Corvette for every year.
Wow.
That's the neat thing about Ed is he saw the wisdom in how well that Corvette did. And we're up against all these other new cars and all these other brands and everything like that. But that car still transcended all those competitors. That's how and why we got into those special editions, because they do resonate so well and are huge customer pleasers.
That's awesome. What a great story. Buddy, thank you so much for everything you've done for us in Corvette community. Take care. Don't be a stranger with Corvette Today.
Well, and believe me, Steve, when I say I will be there, I'm looking forward to attending some of the track events. And then now that I have a little more time on my hands, I can do more of that. I've got my son-in-law in tow. We'll be having a good time. And you'll see me around at the bash. Like I said, I'm consulting with the RSC guys. They're a wonderful group. They're into C8s. And if we can do some things that are newer and still keeping C8 relevant, I think that's still in the cards.
That's awesome. That sounds fantastic. Look forward to seeing you soon, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
You bet. Thanks again for listening and watching Corvette Today. And be sure to tell your family, friends, and other Corvette enthusiasts about the Corvette Today show. And thanks to our sponsors, Wheelcraft. Want to dress up your Corvette with bright chrome or black chrome wheels? Visit wheelcraft.com to learn about their advanced PVD chrome finishing. They can refinish your wheels or offer a wheel exchange for most models, and it comes with a 5-year warranty. Visit wheelcraft.com today or call 833-639-4231. Soul Performance Products at SOULPP.com, the official performance exhaust of Corvette Today. Ciocca Corvette at CIOCCA Corvette.com. E5 Wheels at E5Wheels.com. IntelliSense at IntelliSense.com. Also, Aerolarri Wheels. Get $100 off your purchase with the promo code CT111 at Aerolarri.com. Mark Falter with the Retirement Income Hour podcast. And Hendrick Chevrolet in Kansas City at ChevyUSA.com.
Thanks for checking out Corvette Today on podcast and YouTube. If you'd like to contact Steve with ideas for Corvette Today, you can email him at stevegarrettdj@gmail.com. Garrett has 2 R's and 2 T's. That's stevegarrettdj@gmail.com. Also, sign up for email notifications at corvettetoday.ck.page. Follow Steve and the show on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Threads at Steve Garrett DJ. Thanks again for listening and watching Corvette Today.